And you remained auditor until?
Until I took office December 2004. I took office, Brant Luther, I ran against him.
Who is now the Chief Administrator for the Stark County Commissioners.
Correct. He was appointed by the Republican Party to fill Janet Creighton's shoe when she became mayor.
Canton.
I ran against him. I won as soon as they certified the election. It was like December 20th or something. I became then the county auditor.
That was somewhat of a surprise, too. You defeating
my whole life's been surprises.
It was a pretty decent margin, as I recall, too.
I don't know if it's a decent margin. I know that it was a hard-fought battle, and I know the city of Canton really came out to vote. And, I mean, we both worked hard. Brant worked hard. My team worked hard. And, you know, it was just one of those years where, like when I lost was one of those years. It's just, you know, the storm, the perfect storm. It was the perfect storm for me at the time.
Okay. And you remained Stark County Auditor until 2010, is that right?
Yeah, 2000, I don't know. What's this, 14? Yeah, 10.
Right.
I think I left office.
Was
April of 11 is when I left office.
April 11th of 2011.
I mean,
probably.
April of 2011 is when I left office.
Right, because treasurer and the auditor have different terms than other county officers.
Yeah, because usually you're in the middle of an audit, and at the beginning of the year end is the worst time for a treasurer and auditor to come in, because you got to turn your books, you close out the year, you got to start the new year up, you got to get the new POs. I mean, there's just so much work to do.
Okay.
And then the county auditor inherits everything. Anything that the state didn't know what to do with, they gave to the county auditor.
Probably with no funding, too.
Yeah, I mean, you had vendor's license, cigarette license, you did it all.
Well, and we're not going to get into the difficulties of those years. We'll save that for a later interview. But just on the positive side, what would you say was your major achievement as Stark County Auditor?
I think there's two. I think the one was we had 22 different applications running on the old IBM computers, and we switched everything over. We rewrote pretty much the whole county IT department. We brought in PCs, we virtualized, we went from 22 servers to 6 servers. We completely redid the way the county operates the IT department. And I think when you look at technology and the monies it can save you, I think that was the best money spent, best bang for the buck, because that allowed the other departments then to be able to start doing things within their own departments that could make their life easier too. I think technology really drives the savings of cost. The GIS, we expanded GIS to where it was when I left. We got awards. Last 2 or 3 years I was there, we had the awards from OGRIP on being an aggressive GIS county. We did the flyovers. We can actually sit in the office and measure the house off of a photograph that they've taken and be able to determine the square footage in that house. We took the neighborhoods and we broke them into 900 neighborhoods. So under the old way, and I think the current way, I think the way they do their appraisals is they go, the state of Ohio says this taxing district, which would be Jackson Township, this taxing district needs to come up 11%. Well, they could just take an average of 11% and put it on every house there. We went to that extra mile to make sure that we broke it down into the neighborhoods. So because if across the street they were building $500,000 houses, and this side of the street you have a $100,000 house, we made sure that the $100,000 house was only paying on a $100,000 house, and the $500,000 house was paying on their $500,000 house. The other way, when you just did a flat above board, and you'd look at it and you could adjust a few of the areas. I mean, it's to me, it's not the fairest or the best way to do mass appraisals. I think you have to look at the neighborhoods, you got to make boundaries, and you have to do by the quality of the houses in those neighborhoods.
So you think the Kim Perez administered Stark County Auditor's Office deserves credit for creating the base for the current Auditor's Office to expand and improve its technical operations?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. From where we were to when I left, they wouldn't even be close to doing what they're doing today without that base. I mean, I brought an IT director in that worked for me in the city of Canton, Anita Henderson, and we really changed the whole outlook of the IT department in Stark County.
Well, and Anita's still there,
yes,
and she's recognized as one of the leading technical people in Stark County as far as government computer operations are concerned.
Yes, she helped when I was in the city, a whole SCT banner HR system to help bring it up and make sure that everything went smoothly. We actually were the first to do an integrated system between the timekeeper, Kronos timekeeping, and banner to integrate it, so we didn't have to hand enter all those punches into a different system. We built the integration into the new payroll system, and everything just flowed like it was supposed to.
Okay. All right. Well, Kim Perez loses as county auditor in the November 2010 election, and of course, everybody, including the Stark County Political Report, was, well, what's next for Kim Perez on the political side in terms of running for an office, and it wasn't too long until you were running for Canton City Treasurer, correct?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that loss, it wakens you up. Because there's nothing I could do.
Let's just backtrack. Were you surprised in losing under the circumstances?
No. I mean, the handwriting was pretty much on the wall. Mm-hmm. And if you talk about stars aligning, they align. I mean, that loss was coming, and there was nothing and not enough money for me to spend to even override that loss.
There are limits to having campaign funds, right?
Yes, and you couldn't have enough, I don't think. And my opinion, to change just the whole. I mean, there was only one Democrat that won that year, and that was Burnaby, and he didn't even, out of a three-man race, he didn't even get 50% of the vote. Right.
I, in fact, have written blogs that had not the third candidate run, Tom Burnaby would not be Stark County Commissioner.
And I have the highest regards for Tom. I know his work ethics. I know his ability to cut through the red tape and just be able to get work done. And, I mean, that was a shock. So when you look at that whole year and you look what happened, I mean, you lost Rich Cordray, who, to me, I look at Rich Cordray, I mean, Ohio is fortunate. I mean, Rich he's a presidential material. He's got the brains and everything. And, when you lose...
He was a Jeopardy champ, right?
Yes. I think he was 3-time Jeopardy champ. He also, I mean, as the Attorney General, he worked hard on the foreclosures. We worked with him. We worked hard on trying to get people to either save their houses or be able to renegotiate with the banks. So Rich was very much a people person. He was very bright, intelligent, but he still was down to earth to be able to understand the problems that people were having, and he took the lead on all that. And I just look at that election and see someone like that losing. It just, hey, it's the way the system's built.